Up on CTV News tonight, the Quake families finally given some government funding and Christchurch lawyers urging Red Zone residents to seek legal advice. Welcome to CTV News, I'm Emily Cooper. For months now, families of the victims of February's earthquake have been denied government funding for legal representation at the Royal Commission of Inquiry into the collapse of the CTV building caused by the February earthquake. But yesterday it was announced that the government would make a compromise. Some families say the government has handled the situation badly, but it appears the government is softening its stance after Sunday's emotional meeting. The families met with Attorney General Chris Finlayson on Sunday and he took the families' fight to Cabinet. It was announced yesterday the government would appoint another lawyer at a cost of around $375,000, leaving the family's current lawyer, Christchurch-based GCA lawyers, who represented the Cave Creek and Pike River families, in limbo. Those who attended the meeting on Sunday said it did not answer many questions.
It was very emotional and a lot of the families were a bit heated, which you can understand. They've lost a loved one and they want answers.
So what did the Attorney General say to the families?
Well, not a lot. He said that he will meet them again very soon. The communication wasn't very good with a lot of the people. He hadn't, a lot of them didn't have emails or contacted about. It was just through chance that they found out about the meeting yesterday. There was a lack of communication.
Mr Finlayson had said financial support was not necessary, as the families would be represented by two lawyers appointed to assist the Commission. Prime Minister John Key and Earthquake Recovery Minister Jerry Brownlee say the funding is not a matter of cash and the government wants to find out what happened just as much as the families, and there's no doubt the inquiry will find that out. Some families are upset the Prime Minister went back on a promise he made to them in the days following the quake that the government would fully support them.
What I said to the families in a general basis was, look, we're here to help you and support you as best we can. We believe we are. We're conscious of the fact that some families would want legal representation. We're not ruling that out. But what we have said is it's important to understand the process, that it's not always well understood by people. I mean, the Royal Commission is not an adversarial process. Look, at the end of the day, if it's decided that legal counsel is required for those families, then I'm sure the government will step up and support them.
And CTV News will have more on the Quake family's reaction to the announcement of the funding in tomorrow's bulletin. And Christchurch law firms are warning Red Zone residents not to accept any offer from Sarah at face value, but to assess all of their options available to them. We spoke to Richard Lang from Duncan Cotterill Lawyers about the issue.
Leading Christchurch law firm Duncan Cotterill is warning Red Zone residents not to accept any offer from Sarah at face value.
They have two options. The first option is to take the government's offer to buy their land and buildings at the rating valuation of both land and buildings. And the second offer is effectively just to take the government purchase their land at the rating valuation for the land.
Owners of residential property located in the Red Zone who have signed and returned the Sarah consent form will shortly receive an offer from Sarah to buy their properties at the 2007 government valuation. That offer may appear to be set in stone, but there are two situations where an adjustment in the rating valuation will be considered.
Sarah's position has been made fairly clear on this. They will only allow objections to the rating valuation for land and buildings where either you've done work on your property since 2007 with a building consent that has changed the floor area of your building, or where the floor area of your building or the area of your land and the rating records was always incorrect.
But not many will fit through those two loopholes.
That's a relatively a small number of people that will be able to challenge it under those rules. Unfortunately, a lot of people are going to be in a situation where they perhaps have done work on their house that wasn't covered by a building consent, and therefore they've increased the value of their house but won't be able to object under that process.
But there is a catch.
They have to remember is that if you object to the rating valuation, it could go up or down, and therefore the price under the government offer could go up or down as well. So they need to have good advice about what to do before they take any steps.
And with property values on the rise, red zone residents aren't sitting around waiting to be paid out by the government in fear of not being able to purchase a new home before they all sell.
A lot of our clients in the red zone are going out and securing new properties or new sections and making their purchase offers conditional on getting the government offer settled. And that's a sensible thing to do.
And they're not necessarily disadvantaged in securing the property, not having the funds in the bank.
A lot of vendors out there are accepting offers from people that are in the red zone, knowing that the government offer process is underway, and some of those government offers may be settled within 1 to 2 months from now. So we're not talking about a huge amount of time, as long as things move reasonably smoothly.
Coming up after the break, new energy figures released for Christchurch. Welcome back. The Christchurch Agency for Energy has released its first figures detailing the city's energy consumption since 2008 and has found the February earthquake buckled the trend.
CAFE, New Zealand's first regional energy agency, has found the February earthquake caused energy consumption to drop more than 8%, with electricity down 15% and petrol down 8%. However, demolition work in the central city saw diesel use increase by 7%. The figures have been almost constant since 2008, but have changed dramatically since February. New trends that will help identify the most energy-efficient way to rebuild the city.
It gives us the opportunity to identify what sort of opportunities there are out there, where's the energy being used. It gives us a real good understanding of how energy is used in Christchurch.
But not every aspect of energy use can be improved.
We've only got limited funds to be able to take some measures that would actually make a difference. It's best that we identify areas where we're going to get some bang for our buck, that we actually that we do make a difference.
The information is upgraded quarterly, giving the city an up-to-date idea of where energy is being consumed and the most effective ways of reducing usage and improving sustainability, a very powerful tool when it comes to rebuilding.
We're looking at trying to make sure we have buildings that are actually built in a sustainable way, that the opportunities are taken up front. That's when it's cheapest.
The agency, set up by the council and various other organisations, is a charitable trust chaired by Mayor Bob Parker and will advise businesses, building organisations and the City Council on the best ways of powering the city. And starting from scratch with these new figures as a guideline will be the best way.
It's a lot more expensive to retrofit a building than it is to get a new one. And we're going to have a few buildings that we're going to have to rebuild shortly. It's a one-off opportunity. I don't think we're going to get it again in a hurry.
Their website went live today where the public can access figures and analyse graphs to draw their own assumptions of energy use. Education, which is hoped to help people realise you don't have to cut back much to reap the benefits.
It doesn't take a lot of reduction to start to have some real economic impact. This is why the agency is so important in terms of trying to look at how we can reduce that significant cost and if we are going to use it, let's use it more wisely.
Neoleaf Global has been contracted by CAFE to collect the data supplied by the Council, the Electricity Authority, ECA, the Ministry of Economic Development and Statistics New Zealand.
A replica of century-old whisky found at the hut of Antarctic explorer Ernest Shackleton has made its way to Christchurch. Samantha Early went down to have a look.
It's been a long road for whisky lovers to get a taste of Antarctic history. Crates of whisky from Ernest Shackleton's 1907 British Antarctic expedition were discovered underneath Shackleton's hut in 2007. Early last year, one crate was carefully removed to be thawed at Canterbury Museum.
Somebody crawled under there and chipped it out with a wee axe, and they took 3 bottles eventually. This year 3 bottles managed to go over to Scotland to be analysed, and the end result is that we now have just had arrived the replica of the 1906-07 Ernest Shackleton McKinley's whisky.
While it's one thing to find old whisky, it's another to find a century-old bottle kept in pristine condition, frozen under the ice. In January of this year, 3 bottles were flown back to the Highlands of Scotland on the private jet of the whisky company owner. They were chemically analysed, then master blender Richard Patterson spent 8 weeks combining a range of malts to match the taste of the whisky which once passed through Shackleton's lips.
That's the blender's art, that's what blenders do. But he has had independent verification. A very famous writer, David Broom, and a very good whisky nose, he has tried both samples and said that you could not tell them apart. So.
And while Michael hasn't had the chance to compare them, he's given his verdict on the replica whisky.
It's very unusual. It comes out initially as quite closed because it's got 47.3% alcohol and it's quite spirity. Wee drop of water, it just opens it up, and as it develops, you get all sorts of things. It's a bit like a fruit salad sort of nose, apple, pineapple dominant, but then it changes, goes a bit towards the ginger, wee whiff of smoke. It's got a wee bit of everything. It's quite a sophisticated dram.
50,000 of the replica bottles have been produced worldwide, with about 600 coming to Christchurch, which has a big role in Antarctic history.
Ernest Shackleton, I think, any Antarctic explorer really, they've all gone from Christchurch down to the Antarctic. So the connection's big, and it's amazing how many people have got a connection, one of their families involved, or, and of course we have all the people jump off from here to go down to Antarctica for the summer season.
So the whisky, which originated in Scotland, travelled via Christchurch to Antarctica, stayed there for a century, came back to Christchurch, then went to Scotland, is now in replica form back in Christchurch and may be taken back to Antarctica.
Yeah, it's really big. I think it's a combination of the connection with Christchurch, the continuing exploration in Antarctica, and the fact that Ernest Shackleton, he was such a hero.
And the story doesn't end there. £5 from the sale of each bottle is going back to the New Zealand Antarctic Trust.
The New Zealand Rugby Union, in association with Sky TV, has today confirmed the venues that could potentially host this year's ITM Cup Premiership final. There will be a special dispensation granted for Canterbury to host a daytime final at Rugby Park. The ITM Cup Premiership final is scheduled to be played on Saturday the 3rd of September at 7:35 p.m, unless Canterbury wins the right to host the final, in which case they'll be able to hold the match at 2:35 at their temporary home ground of Rugby Park the same day. This is because of the unsuitability of lighting at Rugby Park, which is Canterbury NPC and Crusaders training ground, which now holds ITM Cup games. The NZRU says given the exceptional challenges Canterbury Rugby and its supporters have had to face this year, it was important to allow them to have the opportunity to host the event in Christchurch. The details of the ITM Cup Premiership and Championship finals will be confirmed after the last round robin match is played on the 28th. Coming up after the break, your local weather. Welcome back. The Honeypot Cafe has finally reopened 8 months after they were forced out of their Litchfield Street site following last year's Boxing Day aftershock. Staff say they're pleased to finally be back into a routine.
This iconic Christchurch cafe may have been closed all year, but staff have still been receiving their weekly paychecks.
We've been really lucky actually when you hear other people's stories and what they've been through, so it's good to stay on board and work for a good boss.
The extra cash he chose not to pocket, like the majority of other business owners, but keep his staff in the job.
I've been very lucky with my insurers, who of course I shouldn't mention the name of, but they've been paying me, and I sort of, on a moral grounds, that I felt that I should keep paying my staff if I was being paid by the insurers.
They may have moved, but the atmosphere is still the same.
It's quite unusual, really. I think it's sort of somehow we've managed to make it have a very similar feel to the old place, but of course it's different.
But not all that different.
So there's similarities between the old place that was in town and here. We've kept a lot of wood and natural surfaces.
And it's not just the wood that's recognisable.
We've still had some loyal customers stick by us, so it's really nice to see familiar faces again.
As for how many familiar and not so familiar faces,
I haven't counted actually. I'm just really pretty relaxed about it.
The tricks of the trade aren't returning so fast, however, with the staff finding now they're back into it, they're a bit out of practice.
It's been a real struggle for all of us, really, just picking up where we left off, so we've forgotten a lot of things that we used to do.
Especially the early mornings.
Waking up at like 5 a.m. this morning was a bit of a shock to the system, but I'll get used to it, yeah.
A global study into the deadly risks associated with snoring is calling New Zealanders to volunteer in the study so it can reach its target of 5,000 patients worldwide. The study will determine if treating snoring and obstructive sleep apnea can reduce the risk of heart attack, stroke and heart failure. Researchers will measure the effectiveness of a sleep apnea treatment. The treatment uses a mask to push air into the airways of people who snore and stop breathing, which helps them breathe easier during sleep. They're seeking people aged between 45 and 75 years to take part, who snore loudly and who have ever experienced a heart attack or stroke or had bypass surgery. To take part in the study or to learn more, you can contact Julie Cook at the Canterbury Respiratory Research Group on 364 1157, or you can look online. In other news now, television around the country is going digital, with analogue being phased out by 2013. Here's Greg Hartford, Regional Manager of Going Digital, to explain what this means for us living in Canterbury.
Everyone in New Zealand needs to know that New Zealand's going digital. That means that the old analogue TV signals will be switched off and everyone needs to have either Freeview or Sky, or here in Christchurch, Telstra Clear, in order to keep watching TV.
Right. Why the desire to do it?
Going digital offers a number of benefits. It offers more channels, it offers better pictures and better sound quality, as well as new services such as an electronic program guide. Also, nationally, there are some economic spin-offs from going digital because the radio spectrum that's currently used for analogue TV will be able to be used for other purposes such as next-generation mobile phones. So in the long run, they'll be faster and cheaper for all New Zealanders.
So it's a free up as well as an upgrade, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. I must admit, I've just got an HD set now, and I'm sport mad, and I can't believe how the grass has changed. It's just so much sharper.
Absolutely. Better pictures are one of the great benefits of digital TV.
Now, it is not a new product, is it? It is available.
It is available now. It's been available, in fact, for several years in New Zealand. Freeview is the free-to-air replacement for analogue television. There are also pay TV services available from Sky.
So can you just explain Freeview to me, because I don't know what that is?
Freeview is if you like, it's the free-to-air channel, so it's all the channels that you are used to receiving on your old analogue set, TV1, TV2, TV3, Channel 4, plus a host of others. There's Channel U, TVNZ 7, TV3 plus 1, C4 2.
So there's quite a range,
quite a range
isn't
of channels.
Yeah.
There's about 15 channels.
OK, so how do you go about it? What do you get?
To go digital, you need to... any TV can go digital.
Right, that's the first point I was going to make. You can use your own television that you've currently got.
Absolutely, you don't need a new TV to go digital. If you want to use a TV that's not digital, to watch digital TV, you need to get what's called a set-top box, which is available from an appliance retailer. You plug it into the back of your TV, you plug the box into a UHF aerial on your roof, and away you go. Do we need to get a man in for that? No, most people who install Freeview do it themselves, but some people prefer to get an installer, and then certainly if you need a new aerial, then I'd recommend that it's a good idea to get someone in rather than...
Cost of the box?
Look, costs vary, and we recommend people should shop around for the best deal.
It's quite competitive.
Absolutely. There are sales on all the time. The different retailers have different boxes on.
What's a ballpark?
Look, they start at around the $100 mark, but it depends on the kind of box and what you want to use it for. So we do advise people to shop around and make sure they get what's right for them and get the best deal.
Is it applicable to every region?
Yes. So the whole of New Zealand is going digital. Here in Christchurch, it's happening in April 2013, so it's a couple of years away. But if people in Christchurch have got a holiday home on the West Coast, for example, they need to know that the West Coast is going digital next September 2012.
Naughty question, but I'm going to ask you, can they take the box to the West Coast?
Well, it depends on the kind of box. Here in Christchurch, there are 2 ways of receiving, or 3 ways, in fact, of receiving a digital TV signal. You can get it from a UHF signal broadcast from the Port Hills. You can get it by satellite, and you can get it through Telstra Clear's cable network.
Right.
On the West Coast, you're only able to receive satellite television, so you need to have a satellite set-top box and a satellite dish. So it's a different kind of box, potentially, than what you might have here.
More expensive?
No, about the same.
Right.
And that's CTV News. I'm Emily Cooper.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.